Good afternoon from a grey, windy, dry, no rain, poorly shoulder again. After effects of COVID, Peterborough. Right, what have I been up with? Firstly, this. So here we are over in Turves. This is where my mate lives, and this is the 20-foot water feature. And here where the progress has been made. So we've got this really nice path. This isn't flat, it undulates, so it looks really good. So we'll have a little walk down here. Just hope the wind drops for long enough, then you can hear me talking. So what we've got is this lift out manhole cover. See if we can lift this out on my own. Oh, look at that, wonderful. And then down here is the sump. You can see the water. We've got some small 32mm return pipes, and we've got two large pipes. These will take the 1.5 or 2-inch pipes out to each wall, and they just need threading through. So we're only talking about 2.5 foot, 3 foot at the most, and the same this side, and you can see it sticking out there, so not too far. So a continuation of the path past where the roller is and over to that door. But this is the bit that were concerning me, and that's absolutely just as how I want it. So either side of the path there'll be troughs, and there'll be berms, and we will have water coming out of a wall perhaps, and maybe out of a milk churn, and that will then all return. I don't know, we just got to make it up as we go along really, and go back here. And then similarly with this side, we've got, I want to put a hole and a log so the homeowner can sit down, she can kick her flip-flops off and basically drop her feet into just a shallow bit of water, maybe 3-4 inch deep at most. And then the lowest points are going to be either side of this manhole cover. We've got two part telegraph poles because we're trying to make it look as though it's run down and broken, and hopefully on the top of this telegraph pole there will be a dovecote for the doves to come and play in. So that's where we are at the moment. We've just got to decide what size pumps, and I think we might have to go for a 20,000, perhaps an EA might be the one that we need. In fact, we might end up with two 20,000s. So watch this space, we'll see what we can come up with. So I have, for that job, ordered up some pipe, some Y splitters. I'm going to go to a shop tomorrow and have a look at the price of some pond pumps. I've already spoken to John at Wayside Koi, who come back with a very good price, so we'll have to see where we stand with that. It's all down to my customer, my mate. I'll let him decide, it's his money. So what have I been up to? First of all, I spotted this, which is a shame, but it's not being used anymore. Don't know if you can see that in there, little wren nest. So something must have disturbed them. I reckon the cats can get on top of these bin lids, which is a real shame, but anyway, there we go. As ever, I've had to write stuff down, put my glasses on. We'll start with the wildlife pond. You remember last week I mentioned the heron coming to visit, and in the state that we are with the cost of fuel going up and prices, I thought, well, I need to provide some kind of cover over the pond without breaking the bank. So I built two covers with nets. Total cost nothing, everything that I found in the garden. So just 20mm conduit, you can see that. Create a small square hole in the centre so the birds can get to this. I dare say the heron's crafty enough to get in that gap, but I've certainly restricted the amount of space that I've provided for it. And then the second bit, similar design, just bits that I add, and that's worked out alright. And as you can see, the pond covers, when I set them all up on the grass, it looked like a coffin. So we had neighbours asking who's died or who's due to die and who's going in the coffin. As it turned out, it just looked like a coffin. Right, pond. We did some water parameter checks over a week ago. Everything spot on. However, a couple of the fish were showing signs of parasitic nasties. So we did a scrape on a couple of fish and sure enough, flukes are back. So we fluke solved. Now I looked at the instructions on the back of the fluke solve and I'm sure in the past it said UVs don't need to be turned off. Then have I got that confused with something else? The UVs have to be left on. Then is it UVs off for 3 days? And now I had a look on the back of the packet and it's now 7 days. So clearly I might be confusing myself, or the instructions have changed, and that's on Fluke Solve Plus. Yeah, the last time I paid money out for Fluke Solve Plus it was £65. I found it down at Japan Koi Import for £56.95, so if you need any, it could be an idea to buy it off them. Also the Surrogate, if I can find the Surrogate. Where are you? There you are, just disappearing into the darkness. Oh well. The Surrogate, on both sides, just behind its gill plate on its body, it had lifted scales and it was flicking and flashing. You can just see it in the background there, coming out of the depths. So on one side we had 4 or 5 lifted scales, and on the other side 2 or 3 lifted scales. One side is completely flat now, and trust it to be in that position, but that's looking really nice now. On the other side we just, oh, the sun's come out, we just have one single scale that's lifted. So I took it out, sedated it, tamadined it, cleaned it up, put it back in, and it doesn't seem to be flicking or flashing anymore, and we are showing signs of improvement. When it comes to feeding, it's always the first up to feed, and that never stopped. So clearly some kind of irritation, but nothing too drastic. So happy with that. And after watching Lee at Ramsey's Koi Pond, yes mate, I was flapping a bit. Even after 30 years I still get a bit of the jitters when I have to tip them over on the side and look after them, but it all works out well, and touch wood, I've never lost a fish. Next little problem. I've got some bubbles and I'm running a 10,000 Aquaforte pump, and this splits. In here as well. and for some reason I'm getting bubbles getting pushed through. So let's go to the greenhouse and have a look. I'll follow you. So this is the offending pump that's creating an issue, and I came in one day to find this controller reading error 3, which is idling. I had no idea why it was idling, so I ended up having to turn the power off and back on, and it went from 19 watts up to, what's it reading now, about 85 watts. So this is drawing water from the biological chamber where there is the air dome. So I'm thinking, is it, for some bizarre reason, pulling in bubbles from the air dome and pushing around the system? So I turned the biological air dome off, didn't make any difference at all. So it looks as though it's pulling air in from somewhere. I have no leaks anywhere on the system that I can see, although two of the pipes go underground. No loss in pond level water, but just a washing machine kind of sound coming from the pump. I don't know if you can hear that. So it's still working, but it's throwing out these bubbles. On the plus side, if there is a catastrophic failure of that pump, I can take the pump off here, off the upflow filter, and simply swap the face plates over, and at which point I can buy another Aquaforte or one of the Jerboa, and we're back up and running. So it's a little bit annoying, but I can sort it. Another problem that I had the other day was, those of you that know, I normally have a stainless steel sieve that sits in there. That was absolutely coated with weed. It just absolutely covered it, and when the drum cleaned and required a top up, the top up was overflowing directly down the waste chute, and fortunately I could hear the water running just before I went to bed. Found that grill completely covered, so just pulled it out, and I've left it out ever since. It was only in there to prevent small fish getting stuck, but as we don't have any small fish anymore, I've just left it out. So that's that little section. I went down to JKI, Japan Koi Imports, to speak to Nick and Mark and see the improvements that they've made down there. The retail section is looking miles better. Miles better. They had some pokey little tanks in there previously. Now they've enlarged the tanks and made it wheelchair friendly. So if you are a wheelchair user, it's easy to get in and out, and there is future plans to, I believe, move the shop from upstairs, and that will be coming down. So wheelchair friendly on both counts in the future, I believe. I'll get back to you. We also found, I just forgot to mention, we found trichodina as well. Scraped 2 fish, and unbelievably enough found 1 trichodina. However, that's trichodina. So we PP'd the pond. The PP seemed to take away all the algae as well, which is a good thing, and I did run extra air just in case you're wondering. The drum, I had to do some maintenance on the drum. I always lift the lid and check inside, make sure everything's running fine. and found that one section of the drum screen wasn't clean. And it was this section, about a 2-inch section there, and it was dirty all the way down. Took this off and found a tiny piece of plastic just inside the nozzle. Took the nozzle off, cleaned it through, back on, no problem whatsoever. So in an 18-month period, the amount of maintenance has gone up from 2 minutes to about 4 minutes. Ooh. Yeah, highly recommended. Get yourself a drum. Over the last few days the pond temperatures have been between 13.5 and 15.5 degrees, which is really nice. The clarity of the water, hopefully you can tell, is 99.9% there, but just because these are a bit rough with the algae and they rip it off every 2 minutes, they always seem to have bits floating around. Right. Oh, one last bit. For those people that use Fluke Solve, have you used LearnX Pro? And those who use LearnX Pro, have you used Fluke Solve? And which would you recommend? Perhaps that the flukes are getting a bit hardy to one product and may succumb to the other product. I might try LearnX Pro next. I've never used it before, but if you can recommend it, let me know. So, one last look at the pond. And due to the cost of everything, the 4 fish that we wanted to get rid of, we might just hang on for a little while. So if you did see them and you wanted them, sorry. So in the meantime, 2 jabs, 1 booster, maybe 2 boosters. Look after your family, look after your fish, and wind's getting up. Goodbye.